No, speaking of, um,
Hi.
yeah, I'm kind of the same way, which is because I have a dog and a cat, and so it's like, oh my gosh, so it's like now I'm tired and I'm being woken up against my will. Oh, okay, goodbye. Um, but
I love this. Everybody's chiming in about their animals. And Joyce, I saw you're from Seaside, Oregon, one of my favorite places. Good morning to everybody.
I have to
They
go.
both go outside. I need a doggy door. I need a place with a doggy door, but we live in a condo. So it's put your clothes on, get the dog, shuffle over to the elevator,
Yeah,
push the button, go down, wait outside, and then go back in. So it's a lot of drama. I need a doggy
I
door.
get that. I'm like just inching to the day when I can get a house and not be in an apartment anymore. Because then I won't have to walk my dog. I can just put my dog outside, and I'm so excited for that day. That has not even remotely come close to being here.
Although I'd like to fancy that the dog is happy to go outside and smell all the smells and get to do the dog things that make the dog happy that they're outside. So that's what I like to think.
My dog, he is an inside dog. He likes being inside. He likes being on the couch. He has his large collection of toys that are his. That he enjoys. Like he is the most spoiled, pampered dog. And I take no issue with that because when I first got him, oh hi Aaron.
Hey,
When I first got
Aaron.
when I first got him, he was so timid he wouldn't even let me touch him, and now it's like we're like joined at the hip. So whatever he wants, he gets because he's a dog and not a child, so it's okay.
My rescue is still a little bit spooked by like loud noise, like exhaust from buses, et cetera, because they found him on the street. And so we live on a really busy street. So if there's a lot of noise, he says, I'm done. And he like drags you back inside. So, but he's like my first rescue. So I'm learning like how to manage rescue dogs.
They're the best dogs.
So, Olivia, I always love hanging out with you. I definitely want to talk Texas because I am immersed in all things Texas, and I'm a super excited to be talking to Isaiah Martin later today, who's a spectacular congressional candidate for Texas's 18th. It's the 18th, right?
Hmm.
But because Isaiah predicted exactly what the Texas Dems should do, which is break quorum and to fight fire with fire, which is happening, but there's a lot that's going to unravel. But there's some breaking news that just happened. And it's funny because Aaron Parnas is with us and it's Aaron's space to break the news. But James Comer just announced, House Oversight just announced that they are approved subpoenas to the Clintons, to like a whole list of them. I need my computer. Um, Loretta Lynch. I mean, it's just nuts. And it's all to get information about the Epstein files, excuse me. And I'm like, it's funny. I don't see Donald Trump sitting down and talking to a congressional committee about his knowledge involving Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm gonna get the list actually. Hold on a second. I'm gonna go get it. You chat for 1 second. I'm gonna go get the list because I think it's interesting. Hold on a second.
Hi everyone.
I know I
Uh,
abandoned you. I'm
I was gonna
sorry.
say it's even funnier because I know you have your AirPods in, so you can still hear us.
I can still hear you guys like chatting it up. Okay, hold a second. Wait, here we go. So here's the list, the subpoenas and that have been approved now by House Oversight. Uh, Bill Barr, Alberto Gonzalez, he was a former U.S. Attorney General, if y'all know him, remember him. Jeff Sessions, short-lived Attorney General, United States Attorney General. Robert Mueller. Uh, okay. Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, Merrick Garland, James Comey, Hillary Clinton, and Bill Clinton. It is amazing how we all see this. And it's so, I mean, I wonder if they think we're just not paying attention, but what a colossal waste of time. What a
A
colossal
col
waste of time.
Colossal waste of taxpayer money that's going to go into whatever it is they're about to do.
And there was reporting this morning too that the Department of Justice has acknowledged that most of the information that was being sought in the grand jury transcripts that they have moved to unseal. The Department of Justice under Pamela Joe has now made a representation to the courts that most of that information has already been made publicly available by way of civil litigation, deposition testimony, and other public statements by victims, survivors, and witnesses that have already spoken, which further underscores what we talked about, which is the attempt to unseal these grand jury records was just a head fake by Trump and the Trump administration, acting like there was going to be something of value there, which most of us were saying, look, it's going to be limited information, typically presented by a hearsay witness like a lead agent in order to secure an indictment, which is completely kosher. And that's exactly what happened here. And so once again, there's this move towards transparency, or this purported transparency by this administration, but it's really, again, just a head fake. And then we look at this list of people, and it's like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. House committee voting by a voice vote approved motion offered by Representative Scott Perry, Republican from Pennsylvania, to direct the chairman to subpoena these people. I mean, the records from the DOJ, I get, we know that happened a few weeks ago, but I mean, what a colossal waste of time. And again, I will underscore, I don't see Donald Trump. Why doesn't Donald Trump want to talk about it?
I mean, I think we all know why he doesn't want to talk about it. It's just they are just so insistent on putting on this charade, and um, it's one of those things where I find myself not surprised, but more dumbfounded. I just, how can you, like, if I was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives and I was in the position to do these things, I could not live with myself and stomach being part of what effectively I see at this point being some kind of cover up. Like, I could not live with myself doing this. So the fact that I think that they do it so freely and so smugly, I think it just astounds me.
Well, and yeah, and you would think that child sex predation, child sex trafficking, and pedophilia would be a bright line that you can't cross, and that everybody should be united in being against it. But to your point, they create more of an issue underscoring or supporting or corroborating the idea that there's a cover up than if they were to just have the transparency that it requires. And it's amazing because the Republicans have always led the charge on this idea of protecting children and protecting the vulnerable, and how that is some type of rallying cry for the GOP. And yet, in this instance, they have the quintessential best opportunity and the most explicit case legally in American history as of late. That would be the perfect opportunity for them to underscore their commitment to combating all of these horrific crimes perpetrated on children. And they're flushing it down the toilet because dear Fur is telling them, you know, are not supposed to be highlighting or illuminating or offering any type of transparency on this. It's just, somebody once told me, and it really kind of gave me some cause for pause, Olivia, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, that if you want to be an effective office holder, that really it's just state politics and local politics these days, because unless you are in the clear majority in the House or the Senate in DC and those chambers, that the reality is it's going to be a whole lot of navel gazing. I want to know your thoughts on this, because I'm a little torn. I feel like we need to make the push to change the numbers in DC, Olivia, so that we can get back into the majority, because these are slim margins that votes are happening, as we've seen by way of the big bullshit bill and others. But I also understand, though, it's a long time to be feeling like you're ineffective, to the point you just raised a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a combination of both. I think, we should absolutely always be pushing to get back into the majority in DC and the House and the Senate, and then, eventually get someone back in the White House. But I think right now we're in this position where we have the ability to litigate out a lot of these issues, and push back against a lot of these issues in state and local government, because that's where we have control. And I think also that's a really important factor in reinvigorating the trust of voters, because They a lot of time if you look at all the polling data, a lot of voters there they are done with DC. They're sick of DC, they're sick of DC politics. And a lot of those same voters really like their governor. They really like their Democratic governor. They really like
Well, look at
their
what they're
Demo
doing right now. The Democratic governors are
exactly.
stepping up and they're saying, come here or come to our state. We'll protect you in the meantime,
Yeah.
you know?
They really like their Democratic governor. They really like their mayors and their state council members who are doing things locally to bring down the cost of housing, that are making their cities more walkable. Like people are not fed up with that. They're not fed up with the government. They're fed up with bad governance. And I
Mm,
think that
I
we
like that.
are
I
we're
like that.
seeing this more and more, which is why I've always focused so much on state and local because those are also the people that you routinely see in your community. They're the ones at the back to school drives. They're the ones that are at the food banks. They're the ones that are making visits in churches on Sundays. Those are the people that you see consistently and who you can reach tangibly, which is why we have to be so focused on making sure that these people are the best representations that we have to offer of the Democratic Party.
I had a Substack live, I want to say last week. Yeah, last week with Congressman Greg Landsman. Do you know who he is? He's from
Yeah,
Ohio. I like
love
his
him.
style. Very, very, reminds me of you. Very straightforward guy. I like him a lot. Very blunt speaker. One thing he said, because I asked him, I said, he spent like more than 5 years as a city councilman, right?
Mhm,
And I'm like, I loved that, right? I said, I love that you spent that time on a municipal level, on a local level, and then you end up going federal, on it. And I asked him, what was so great about that experience on the council? And he said something, and I loved it. He said, to your point, it's the immediate interaction with your constituents where they can come and park themselves right outside of your office downtown or whatever, and they can express their concerns and you can make a real substantive connection and it could be tangible, literally tangible, right? To your point, like you can hug that constituent or you can do something where they feel that. And then I said to him, I go, but why can't we make that translation or extrapolate it to DC? Because isn't that the point? The people in DC are even more importantly supposed to be representing their constituents and their people. They're the ones in DC that are supposed to be our voices because we are far away from Washington, DC when we're in other places in the United States. And he agreed. And, and he has a definitive plan that he's proposed. But Olivia, it's amazing the collision, I think, of realities. As you sit in Texas and I sit in Florida, and you are going through a gerrymandering moment where it's so nakedly partisan. The Texas Republicans are doing the bidding of Donald Trump. This is not even
mhm,
a real Texas issue per se, right? And then now I have DeSantis in Florida, in DeSantistan, threatening to do the same shit in Florida, mimicking and copying, because he's one hell of an unoriginal asshole, what's happening in Texas. And I think to myself, I spent 3 days just this weekend for my birthday in the state of Massachusetts. And it was so refreshing to be in a place where people were openly, comfortably anti fascist and anti Trump. And there were pride flags everywhere. And there was Black Lives Matter flags and messages everywhere. And it was just so um, it was so refreshing, Olivia, and I thought to myself, "Oh gosh, I guess this is what it's like to live in a state or in a jurisdiction where people are sane." Because you and I don't live in sane places, and even though we joke about it, you and I, it is disturbing how much it impacts our daily lives.
mhm. It is. I was born in Tech. I was born in Texas, actually, about 2 miles from the hospital where I'm at right now. And I've lived here my entire life. I've lived in Texas my entire life. And most of that, up until I was 19, I lived in rural Texas. So I lived in the forgotten parts where even, the Republicans, they say they care about rural Texas, but to this day, my childhood home still doesn't have high-speed broadband internet access. And we're right off of a major highway too. So like I really do see these things as they happen in real life and the effect that they have on people. And the thing that's always so funny to me is people will talk about Texas and Republicans will campaign on what's going on in Texas and they'll say, Texas has a problem with the quality of our schools. Texas has a problem. Our communities are dangerous because of crime. And they'll say this and this and this. And I'm like, that's great. Who's been in charge of the state for the last 30 years?
Wait,
Republicans have controlled the state.
who created the racially gerrymandered map that the Trump DOJ ordered Abbott to redistrict?
Exactly.
Republicans did back in 2021.
Republicans did. Exactly. And, I'm just so sick of it. And, for a while I thought to myself, I really need to button it up while I'm talking about this stuff. I need to be more professional and more serious. But I've gotten to this point where I'm like, I'm so sick of that. Like that is a DC mindset. I do not buy into that anymore. Like I'm
What
just
does
gonna tell
that
the
what
truth.
does that mean for you? Like what does it mean when you say to be more professional and serious?
I'm not allowed to make fun of them. I'm not allowed to cuss. Like I'm
Oh
not
no,
allowed to
honey. Oh honey, please. You know who you're talking to right now.
exactly. So then I've got to that point where I'm over it. I'm sick of it. Because like these people, this is not normal. Like I'll give you. I was at the public hearings that Republicans held in Texas
Tell
for
everybody what
these
that was
redistricting
like.
maps.
What a fucking shit show that was, where people drove on buses for 4 hours to go to Austin, and they weren't even allowed to speak. Go ahead, tell everybody what that was
So
like.
so I went to the first two. I went to the one in Austin at the Capitol. I was there for 5 hours. Um, and I watched this committee. First of all, most of the committee wasn't even there. I watched this committee be on their phones, not pay attention. And that culminated for me, my day. That ended with me watching my good friend, Isaiah Martin, be arrested by DPS. I was there as he was getting arrested. I watched him thrown to the ground by DPS officers for going over his speaking time, where he was removed from the chamber. Um, and they took him, carried him to a completely separate part of the building. We had no idea where he went. We had no idea where they took him. So that was the first day that I went. I watched my best friend be arrested, and he was in jail for over 24 hours.
That was wild.
And then the second day I went was at the hearings here in Houston, where at this point, God bless, Isaiah was out of jail and he was able to go and sign up to testify again. I waited there for 7 hours,
Oh my
or
god.
I think 7.5 hours, to testify. I signed up to testify. I waited for 7.5 hours, and I was not allowed to speak because they limited public comment to 5 hours. And they do this on purpose because, they don't really care. And it's the same thing that happened in Houston as that happened in Austin, is they're mostly on their phones. They're not really paying attention because they don't care. Representative Cole Hafner doesn't care. Representative William Metcalf, he doesn't care. Hillary Hicklin doesn't care. Katarina Peterson, they don't care. They do not care about what you have to say about these maps, because the reality is we had one issue here in Texas that united Democrats and Republicans for years. That was our core bipartisan tenet, and that was school vouchers. And this past year, the morning of the school voucher vote, Donald Trump called in and effectively told those lawmakers, you better vote for this. And every single one of them fell in line. So I knew going into this, these people are not going to care. They're not going to care what we have to say because they've been given their marching orders and that's all they care about. And the other factor of this is now you wonder to yourself, gee, why are all these state house reps fighting so hard for these new maps with these 5 brand new Republican congressional districts? Why is Katrina Peterson on that panel fighting so hard for these maps? And then you realize, well, she's drawn into a brand new congressional district. State Representative Briscoe Cain is fighting really hard for these new maps. Why is that? Well, because he's drawn into a brand new congressional district. And
Wait,
you can see.
and everybody needs to be reminded. Do you guys remember, in the chat, let us know. Do you guys remember who Katrina Pearson is? Do y'all remember Trump 1.0? Do you guys remember Katrina Pearson, spokesperson for Donald Trump? And it's interesting because when I saw her on social the other day, I was wondering where the hell did this chick go, right? Because she had kind of been low laying somewhere or whatever. And now
Yep.
all of a sudden, her ass is percolating back up now. And it's to your point, because with a newly drawn congressional district, guess who's going to be running for Congress?
Guess who's going to be running for Congress? A lot of these people are going to be running for Congress. And this is what I had been telling people. People were asking me, well, what should we be looking at? Who are they drawing out of power? Who I said it's not about who they're drawing out of power. It's about who they're drawing into power.
Mm.
When Texas gerrymanders these maps, they do it with certain people in mind. When they did it in 2021, when with Congressional District 38, which is where I live, they drew that map with Congressman Wesley Hunt in mind because Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher had whooped his ass in their election for Texas 7. They had to go and draw him a brand new guaranteed Republican congressional district.
It's like a freaking consolation prize. It's you're Republican MAGA and you kiss ass and you can't win on merit. So guess what? We're gonna fuck with your gerrymandering and we're gonna create a congressional district so you can now get your own congressional seat.
Exactly. And so I sat there and I looked at it and they know who I am. They know who I am. And so I'm sitting there and I'm just staring at them just all day. And it was terrible. But the other thing that a lot of people don't know, um, Texas has done this before. Texas has done this before. They did this in 2003. They did this just a few months after I was born. Speaker of the House at the time, Tom DeLay, was the one who orchestrated this. And it was the exact same playbook. Redistrict 5 new congressional districts, draw 5 Democrats out of power. And they did it and it worked. They've done it before and they're doing it again now. And so
they did a quorum break back in 2003. And they did the quorum break back in 2021.
Yes.
And they just did the quorum break right now in 2025.
Yeah. This is what really grinds my gears. And this is what I've been talking about on Twitter and Threads is Republicans who are suddenly so anti-gerrymandering. That's funny. That's funny to me because partisan gerrymandering was such an important issue to Democrats in 2021 that the first bill that was put up in the House of Representatives, H.R. 1, the For the People Act, banned partisan gerrymandering. And every single Republican voted against it. So now that we have Governor Gavin Newsom in California saying, no, I'm not going to stand while Texas gerrymanders, we're going to gerrymander back if we need to. Now that we have Kathy Hochul saying the same thing in New York, now gerrymandering is a problem to them when 4 years ago they all voted to keep it because that's the only way they could keep their seats is through gerrymandering, not through merit. So frankly, I don't care how they feel about it. I don't care if it makes them upset. You're mad because you could be losing at your own game. You can blame Greg Abbott and you can blame the Trump administration for pushing for this because they are the ones that started this redistricting fight. And now Democrats are going to be the ones to finish it and they can deal with that.
And that's why I want to underscore the hypocrisy that the DOJ highlighting the existing map and saying it's been racially gerrymandering and demanding that the redistricting happen because of those 5 specific districts. That's a freaking Republican map in Texas. The House has a redistricting committee that creates the map. The full House votes on it, right? And then it goes to the Senate and then eventually gets to the governor of Texas. Every state does it differently, which is the footnote to the conversation we're having, Olivia, about Newsom in California and how is he going to go about doing it, as well as Hochul in New York. But it's crazy that the Trump DOJ is taking this map that was drafted, done, approved by Republicans in Texas and saying it's a problem map and then telling them to fix the problem, which according to them is just to create new congressional districts, 5 of which are going to be in areas that voted decidedly and squarely for Donald Trump. I am not going to be the Debbie Downer here, and yet I will. Here's the reality. Abbott can call a special session for every single freaking 30-day window if he wants to. So people, even though this existing session ends on August 19th, I believe, Olivia, Abbott could just turn around and just do that shit again. And he could just keep on declaring a special session. And in the end, eventually, sadly, these representatives that have broken quorum, they're never going to be able to live outside of Texas for months on end, right? It's just not going to happen. So if this inevitably kind of goes through and gets approved, this new map, we'll call it Map 2.0, then there's going to be litigation. And the crazy thing is, just last month, they had the trial on the litigation for the 2021 map. It took them freaking 4 years to have this litigation, Olivia. So in the meantime, you're going to move forward with MAP 2.0. So this is the end of my Debbie Downer speech. Here's the part of my get off your ass and do something speech. Even if they gerrymander the shit out of these maps, it's still an opportunity for you to vote in the right person, meaning
Mhm.
to vote in the Democrat and to shove it up down their throats. I was going to do something else and tell them you cannot play these games. And if you do, what is it? Um, was it play dumb games?
Oh, play
Whatever.
stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Exactly. You want to play a stupid games, Republicans, and you're going to win the stupid prize of you never getting the seat. It's going to go to even more Democrats. And so we need to figure out a way, Olivia, and I'm dealing with a lot of this here in Florida, right? We got to deal with this like in a way where we acknowledge and confront the realities and we plan around them. This is how we do this. We have to plan around these, I would hate to say inevitabilities, but at this point, sometimes it's just numbers and dollars, and we need to
Mhm.
galvanize support. I don't want to say it's all over, though. I do think there still could be a public push to convince some of these Texas House reps to not do it. But I think that shamefully, um, and I blame legacy media on this. You, me, and Isaiah, we've been talking about this redistricting for how long now? For
Mhm.
how long? And I was saying there's a reason why we've been talking about this, especially here, because even though there's a lot of distracting shit going on, this stuff was potentially going to be the biggest issue for us. And nobody in legacy and traditional media was picking this shit up. And I'm like, Isaiah, preach, preach, Isaiah. And you, Olivia, you and I have been talking about this for the longest of times. And so now it's the issue. And I'm like, this is the problem that we have here. We have to pay attention to a million and one things at the same time. We cannot be playing catch up. We
Mhm.
cannot be playing catch up on these critical issues. And I feel like that is a squarely Democratic problem. The Democrats need to figure this shit out way in advance and they need to plan against it and start mobilizing, doing stuff now or before, excuse me,
I
not just now.
I agree. To his credit, Gavin Newsom has been talking about this for several months now. But I really haven't seen anyone else but him kind of consistently take up the mantle on this. But what's really interesting about these maps is that of these new Republican districts, if you look at them for a 2018 comparison, 2018 compare them to Beto O'Rourke's Senate race, several of these Republican districts, Beto would have won.
Hmm.
And so here's my concern as to what I see happening. I think it is entirely possible that we could find some Democrats, some more probably conservative Democrats who could run in these seats and very well possibly could win. I think you could see that happen. But I could also see a possibility where that happens, so then Republicans just do this all over again in 2028. They just do it again and draw new districts. That's I think a reality that we could see happen. So I think to your point of we need to be on everything all the time. I think as Democrats are responding to this, we need to keep that in mind. We need to keep in mind that this is something that they could just try to do again because they drew these maps based off of the 2024 election results. So these midterms go a little bit differently. Last year I think was a R+4, R+6 year. I can't remember for certain. So this midterm environment is D+2, D+4,
Mm.
D+6. That changes things a lot for some of these seats. And so I think we need to just really, really keep that in mind as we're watching these elections unfold and we're watching lawmakers decide whether or not they're going to put these maps into place.
Two quick comments. One, it gets back to our original conversation pointer, which is a starter, which is you got to focus on your state and local elections,
Yes.
people, because it's the local state representative, excuse me, Republicans that are creating the shit show. It's a Trump thing. They're doing the behest of Trump, but there's a state component to how the sausage is being made here.
Yep.
And so we cannot ignore the importance of y'all getting involved and running for office on state and local levels, right? One.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I also think this is the biggest tell, and maybe this is a great way that we kind of button up our conversation today, Olivia. The biggest tell of the reality that Trump and the Republicans feel threatened about the impact of the Trump administration so far is exactly what's happening right now. They know that the midterms loom large in a very bad way for them. And the
Mhm.
only way to win, according to them, is to cheat and to steal election outcomes by gaming the system to really jerry rig the numbers so that they're able to literally be able to outvote and outnumber us because they know it's a problem. And so I feel like we should lean into that energy of the disastrous Trump administration so far and how the Trump imprimatur on these candidates and on these issues is actually a scarlet letter for them. It's a bad thing
Yeah.
for them. It's a toxic thing. And that again, if they want to play these stupid games, like you said, it's the stupid prize. If you're not going to get it, we're going to send qualified good people to Congress in DC. And hey, by the way, we're also going to be targeting y'all asses the next time that we can because you're playing these dumb games at the behest of Donald Trump. But it's and this is something you do so well, Olivia. It's a multi front attack. We have to go on
Mhm.
the offense on this.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. You know, now we gotta wait and watch to see what happens. How I'm gonna be talking to some Democratic lawmakers and who have gone to Illinois from Texas this week to kind of see what the lay of the land is, and get our marching orders of how can we best help. And I think the way that we can best help right now is to talk about it and tell people what's going on. Because to your point, they can't be there forever, but they're going there because we need people paying attention. And this will get some people to pay attention. So that's what we need to do.
So, to all of you tuning in, I speak for Olivia when I say we're grateful for your time. It is a privilege for y'all to spend time with us. I urge you to please subscribe to Olivia's Substack. Show her so much love and support. She is one of the brightest young minds out there. And, Olivia, I think it is professional always to be authentic and to speak your mind. And so I think you're one of the most professional people I know. And I like to say, I curse a lot. You may not like the words I use, but you certainly should like my message because the message I think is on point. It's also authentic. I care about everybody. I want the right thing to be done. And so I give a shit. And maybe the way I express it is a way that's a little different. My poor mother, thankfully, is not in the room right now to hear me say this, nor is my 10-year-old. But I do give a shit. I care. And because I care, I am passionate. And part of that translation is maybe not using the King's English or the Queen's English in a way that it's supposed to be. But Olivia, I'm proud of you. I want you to hear me. I want everybody to show love to Olivia. I'm always very proud of you. You are very good at making sure that we are aware, and that knowledge is power, Olivia. So thank you for spending time with me today. It's good to see you, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Katie. And likewise, if you're here from my page, please do go subscribe to Katie. She is one of our fiercest fighters in this new media age.
Alrighty, I'm gonna go tape a YouTube video for my channel so I can sit there and bitch about stuff.
Yes. All right. Take care, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.